Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited today for my guest because he is not only a very successful startup founder in the AI and software space, but he is a recently licensed and quite successful within his first couple of weeks of being a real estate broker on the commercial real estate side as well. And that is none other than Ryan Lee, who is the founder of Jigo.ai, one of the most unique AI companies that is combining his experience in software and also applying that to the commercial and even residential real estate world as well. And he is, again, one of my partners here at eXp Realty as well. So, really excited to be bringing him on. And Ryan, man, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you join us and share a little bit about your story with our audience here.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Kobe. It's great to be on the show. Hey, my name is Ryan Lee. I'm a commercial real estate broker here in Washington State. I'm also the founder and CEO of Jigo.ai, but I'm also a venture partner at a venture capital firm called Rabbit Ventures. So my background, I spent the last 20 years in tech and startups. First started my career at Samsung Electronics, then moved over to Microsoft, and I started my first startup in 2019 called Curve, Kurvv. I sold that company about 2.5, 3 years ago. And then now I'm the founder and CEO of Jigo.ai. So Jigo.ai, we started about a year ago, and we started off as an AI tool that helps people review contracts. So we started in that area. And the funny story about how I got into commercial real estate is um, about the end of last year, someone uploaded a 200-page contract, broke our system, and then reached out. It turns out to be a commercial real estate broker here in Washington State. She told me how it was hard to review all these contracts because of the complexity and the bespokeness, and it got us thinking. And we recently pivoted into commercial real estate, and that's what we're staying right now. So we're starting with an agent that actually reviews contracts, and there's multiple agents within that software as well. But as I'm working deeper and deeper in commercial real estate, I'm realizing all these gaps and the opportunities for us to build software to make life easier for agents and brokers as well. So that's what we're doing right now. So happy to dig deeper and share my story as we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really cool how you guys are able to kind of take your background in AI and software development and just kind of seeing an opportunity in the brokerage space, right? Because there's a lot of different softwares that real estate brokers use, both on the residential side. I think there's more variety on the
Mhm.
residential side and a few bigger players on the commercial side that I'm aware of. So I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about your background in software development and AI because there's a lot of people on the internet today who are, self-proclaimed AI gurus or AI experts that are out there, but I don't think as many people have, kind of the experience or the extent of the background that you have when it comes to
Mhm.
just tech and, now of course moving into AI development and AI software as well.
Yeah. So I was at Bing at Microsoft. I was at Bing before it was cool to be at Bing, and while I was there, not many people wanted to be at Bing. But I did my toes in machine learning and AI in that team as part of a data science team in Bing advertising. So that's how I started. My background, my undergrad degree is in electrical engineering, so I do have an engineering degree. But I most of my career was in product, so product management, product planning and product management. So I was never into really heavy coding or the engineering side. So mostly about visions about what to build, how to build it, and making sure that product gets built and looking for opportunities. That's where I started. While at Microsoft, I saw this opportunity to use machine learning in a very specific application called predictive maintenance. That's my first company. So dug really deep into machine learning and the platforms and data science and the math behind it while I was there. Um, and after I sold my company, around the time where ChatGPT started coming up, I realized a lot of the stuff that we couldn't do because of the constraints of technology at that time was now being removed. And reviewing contracts or documents is actually was one of them. Before you actually had to have a person review the contracts and provide feedback or good enough analysis. Realized after a few tries with ChatGPT that yeah, this is going to work. So that's where we started. About 2 years ago, we built the first prototype to see if it works. It started working, and as technology progressed, we dug more and deeper and grew more excited about what this technology can probably do. We've been building ever since. We're trying to keep pace with the dizzying speed of at which AI is being developed at this time. But Yeah, so it's a great opportunity. I think everyone should become AI literate, as the saying goes. AI is not going to replace you guys. You will be replaced by people who use AI.
Yeah, that's very well said. And you
Yeah,
mentioned something there was, I think, quite unique, but well, something that's quite interesting, which is you're trying to keep up with kind of the pace of development with all the different AI integrations and tools that are out there, right? And I think
yeah,
building any kind of product, digital product that is, that could be something I think a lot of people are intimidated by is, what is kind of the final product, right? Because you work for maybe a few weeks or even up to a few months on something, and then all of a sudden, when you finished, or you think you're finished, right? All of a sudden, the AI changes or the technology
yeah,
changes drastically, and you have to start all over again. How are you guys managing that progression, right? How are you guys being able to kind of, almost predict what's going to happen next? I know it's hard to do, but
yeah.
almost keeping it open so that way you can develop the product, make it better, but also leave it open to, to the technology advancements moving forward.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people forget one thing is AI and technology itself is just a tool,
Yeah.
right? So at the end of the day, people's needs, what the world needs, stays fairly constant. The old saying, right? If your people don't want a hole in the wall, they want like a nail in the wall that you can hang something, right? So there's a specific need, and it could be a hammer, it could be any tool that actually does it. But whatever tool that actually fulfills that need actually wins, is what the customer and end user needs. I think yeah. So in that perspective, you have to start with like what the user or the people want and need, or the market needs, and then start backwards. If you try to apply the latest technology to the problem you're trying to solve, it will be a never-ending sort of repetitive loop. So you have to focus where what the problem you're trying to solve is, and then focus on that. If it can be solved without AI, solve it without AI, right? If it can be solved with one line of code, solve it with one line of code. Don't use LLMs, right? I think that's the sort of the mindset people should have when looking at problems and trying to solve problems with AI or technology in general.
Yeah. See, that right there is really practical, right? Because I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who do take the other approach where they think they just need to apply the latest technology in order to apply the latest technology, right? Without really any need to do it. Whereas what you just said was we should look at the problem that we're trying to solve, and
yeah,
then whatever the easiest, simplest way to do it, we should just apply it, right? If it's not with AI, then it's not with AI. There's no requirement for us to integrate AI into everything that we do. Is just simply a tool that has now existed, right, and continues to evolve that can help us with things that we weren't able to do in the past. So I think that's a really good way to look at things, right? Instead of having kind of these AI blinders on, just to think we have to integrate
yeah,
AI into every part of our lives, even when some cases is not necessary, or could be an additional workaround that you have to use AI to get just to get something done.
yeah. Absolutely, totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the commercial real estate space, right, specifically, that's the kind of the realm that you've been in for a
Mhm.
little bit here. What are some of the issues that you're seeing that, your company and just the overall tech that is existing in this world in general, what are some of the problems that these technologies can solve for commercial brokers that maybe has been problems that they're facing in the industry for, years or maybe even decades, that now if they start applying it strategically can actually help them save a lot of time in their business, be more efficient, but also, maybe more effective in their dealing with clients and in closing transactions.
Yeah. So if you think about like what LLMs are really, what AI in general is much better at than previous technology is unstructured data, meaning that for processes that involve bespoke sort of forms, text, or language, previously, if you had to sort of create rules and tell the algorithm how to look at certain things for you to be able to use that and apply it. But the problem with commercial real estate, which is slightly different from residential, where residential has a lot of sort of standardized forms or processes. right? Because there's such a larger volume. So there's a lot of the stuff that residential agents do is repetitive. So if you're in the industry for a while, the forms become all pretty much the same. You know exactly where to look. But the problem, but that does not exist in commercial real estate to some degree. There's some standardization, but more in large, uh, each deal is this sort of unique sort of deal where the broker or people involved in that transaction has to look at the deal in a fresh pair of eyes, where a lot of the uh, process or forms that they previously uh, become familiar with does not apply. So it's ground zero where I have to build it. So if they can't go start, if it's 100, you need 100, you can't start from 50. You have to go all the way down to 10 and work your way up to fully understand. That's exactly where sort of AI could really work. And that's where I think we see the biggest opportunity. Areas where there's bespoke sort of forms or language where traditionally people had to go and find, comb, and read through line by line to understand and make sure there's no errors or things that needs to be changed. Um, in that perspective, I think contracts is where we actually started, and that's the biggest opportunity that we saw. Is in commercial real estate, for example, if it's one transaction, maybe it's a simple transaction, a 40, 50 pages document. If it's a sublease, maybe it increases to 70. If it's a sublease, it can be 100. If it's amendments over amendments, it can be hundreds up to 200 pages long, right? And those are all look very different. So for a very skilled trained person, they can probably go through it, um, but not as fast as a simple form. So they still have to read it line by line, and it becomes prohibitively hard to really maintain a good understanding of how the document evolves as negotiations or the process goes. And then if you look at some stats about but they say about 12% of all contracts, commercial real estate contracts out in the market right now have some error in them, just not caught. They don't know it's there. So the error rate is actually pretty high. And the industry has that. But with AI, I think that could actually go down with the total cost of doing a transaction goes down, and cost meaning not just financial cost, money wise, but also time as well, and becomes more affordable to a lot of the smaller players who were not able to engage in transactions because of the associated cost for commercial transactions.
Wow, that's actually I didn't know that statistic that you just shared right there. The just the amount of errors that are actually in commercial real estate contracts. And I'm assuming these are contracts that are already been closed out, or are you talking
Closed
more
out.
closed
Yeah,
out? So these
closed
are
out. Yeah. I can't remember what specific source, but it's one of the bigger firms that reviewed closed out contracts, especially the more complex ones. They found about 12% of them had some error in them that needed to be changed.
Wow, yeah, that's a pretty big number. I was quite surprised to hear that actually.
Yeah.
To see that there's still amount of errors, but it makes sense, right? Because you're talking about contracts that are up to hundreds of pages documents, right? That's a lot of words to review. That's a lot of line items to review, and then having it be, negotiated and changed over time. That can be a lot of there's definitely a lot of room for error
Yeah.
in it. So it does make sense, and that's the problem that you guys are solving with your AI tool, which actually helps brokers review these documents, and hopefully what it's going to allow them to do is reduce the amount of errors, especially with the amount of changing and evolution of the contract over time throughout the negotiation process and even afterwards, right? If there's any renegotiation that is happening after the transaction has been closed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just the contract themselves. If you think about commercial real estate transactions, there's up to about 20 different documents that get involved. Environmental surveys, different certificates, LOIs, RFPs, like it keeps going. Amendments, addendums, and different versions of the documents. So there's version one, version two. So which one's the latest one? There's amendments on it. So if you lose the amendment document, you don't know there's an amendment. So it's the wrong. You're working out the wrong version. So follow up documents from the wrong version becomes wrong, uh, and keeps going and branches out. So it becomes the complexity about not just the contracts themselves, then itself is very long, but it's the relationships between the different documents that involve a transaction or the maintaining of a property that becomes really, really complex. Where and that's where AI can actually help uh, manage, which would reduce all the complexity, all the errors that is caused by human errors or the time that needed to understand this relationship.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, right? Because sometimes, right, with these, with these contracts and documents and relationship between them, right, if you have a mistake or error early on, right, and then there's changes later on, that error follows that chain of change, right? And then
Yeah,
that can create a whole sea of issues, right? To go back and have to redo everything, right, if you catch it later on. So I'm assuming your tool would allow agents and brokers to do is not only catch these errors, but catch them early so there's no, less need or no need to go back and refix everything in case there was just, maybe one small thing that was missed early on that could be
yeah,
causing an entire line of issues down the line.
yeah, absolutely. So we're currently operating under, we're in closed beta right now. So brokers are using our product as closed beta. We're able to build an agent that actually does one large contract. So we're building toward doing multiple documents relationships as well. But the interesting thing about like errors is uh, writing contracts are written and the numbers are inputted by humans, right? So a typical problem would be maybe a zero is missing somewhere, right? And it gets signed. Um, but if you catch it early, because there's documentation and the party A and party B, they know that it's an error. It's easily correctable, right? They say, hey, we're missing a zero. Oh my god, okay, sorry, I'll resend it. Let's tear up the old contract, and it's an easy fix if you catch it early. But think about that being stored somewhere, and 3 or 4 years later, or after the lease is completed, you have to do an extension and whatnot, and everyone that was involved has left the company and they're no longer there. The only thing left is a contract, and the zero is missing. How do you know? How do you figure that? Trying to figure out like what is the actual correct number is gonna be a pain in the butt, and that's where the huge pain starts coming up. They have to hunt down all the documentation, emails, trying to figure that out. It's long gone. No one knows where it is. It becomes a nightmare trying to manage, right? So these problems are very, very, and even individually, you probably had something like this happen yourself. Like, hey, you caught this error, misspelling of the name, or something's wrong with something in the contract. Again, think of it at that multiplied by like maybe 100, right? So yeah, that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I built like very rudimentary websites before, and I can already think of like some examples of that that's happened as well. And I just try to extrapolate that by 100, and it just sounds and thinks in my mind it feels very stressful already, right? So the fact that there's a tool now that can help brokers catch these issues, I think that's a big benefit as well. And that's just the kind of the progression of technology, right? Because in the past, how long it might take to, you know, how long it might take to hunt something like that down, right? It can cost the broker a lot of time and money that they're not putting towards closing the next deal or servicing the next client. Right now, they're at least able to save time on this to increase their productivity, which is a huge time saver and just huge productivity booster as well for commercial brokers out there. And I love what you said earlier on, which is it helps kind of the smaller brokers, the smaller players, people
Yeah,
getting up and going, maybe starting out. It puts them on an even more even playing field as well that allows them to now increase their productivity and go out there and potentially get more things done. Now, a question that I would have, I mean, just kind of coming from the broker's perspective and maybe client's perspective as well, is when using AI and LLMs to review these kind of very important legal documents, they're going to want to think about like what is the accuracy of that, right? So what have you guys experienced when it comes to the accuracy and how does it how does it think and how are you guys able to make sure that everything that is being reviewed correctly and that there's not like
yeah,
a mistake that somehow the AI doesn't catch?
yeah. So there's no guarantee that LLMs would be 100% at 100%. So I think the best way to think about this is that LLMs are think of as humans in the sense that they're probabilistic Humans do make mistakes, so do LLMs. The probabilistic meaning that traditionally software, if it's code, if something works once, if you repeat it, it will always work. But for LLMs, the way they're trained and how they operate is that it's not always the case. If you give the same thing to an LLM maybe 1,000 times, one or two times it's gonna spit out something really really weird. But that's the same with humans. The way we think about this is that it's very similar to hiring someone to help you look through it. That someone happens to not need to sleep or eat or don't get sick. They'll just keep doing it, but they have the inherent probability of actually it making a mistake as well. So always the rule of thumb right now for AI is that always double check the work as well. Think of them as an employee that you're training or working with. Don't take everything at 100%, but just verify and make sure that you verify before you actually hand it over to the clients. And one of the important things about this AI industry is a lot of the AI tools that are built for high stakes work is actually built for the professionals, not the end users directly because of this trait. If you think of the legal space as well, a lot of the big players right now, they're actually building for lawyers. And the reason is that if there's a mistake, the lawyers can't catch it. They're like, okay, this is wrong. But if you give the same results to an end user who's going to use that as part of their legal process, they will not be able to catch that. And there's a huge there's huge side effects and results of that as well. I think it's the same with commercial real estate, where the stakes are very high in real estate in general, where it's the tools that we build are for brokers or agents who are professionals. So if there is a mistake, the brokers or the agents should be able to catch it. So it won't be without mistakes, but our target is to make the brokers and agents more efficient in that sense, and not to be able to create a software, though it is a goal that has no mistakes in the future.
Right. So that's another point for people to think about, right? Everyone is afraid that AI is going to come in and replace them, and that's literally like the complete opposite of what you just pointed out, which is the goal of AI is not to replace the professionals because
Yeah.
if we, start trying doing that, especially with just the amount of technology that we have today, it can get very chaotic, right? Because we can have somebody who has no idea what they're doing, no idea what any of the processes look like in a commercial real estate transaction, try to use this to try to replace hiring a real estate broker to help them with that transaction, and it could just go completely haywire, right? It's just like two people who have no idea what they're doing, trying to figure it out on the spot, right? Thinking that the AI is going to help them, and then it could be spitting out information that's not correct, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you give this tool and design it in a way where it's you know to use by the professional in the middle, right, to actually help represent you, then it's just
Yeah.
allowing them to do their job better, do their job a little bit more accurately and definitely faster. So that way they can, better represent you in this transaction as well. So I think that's a really, again, really good mindset to look at things is that these AI tools that are being put out there, it's not to replace professionals, it's to make the professional's job easier, faster, more effective as well. And that's actually part of the question I want to ask you next, which is kind of what are the limitations of this tool, right? Because I'm sure there's people listening to this that maybe don't have a lot of experience with AI that think, wow, if I just plug into this tool, I don't ever have to review a contract ever again in my life. How great does that sound? But I'm sure there's going to be limitations, especially now, but also moving forward as well. So what are some of those other limitations that you see with this tool and how a broker is able to apply it and how they're not able to apply it in their kind of day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I think the biggest like limitations for all LLMs is blind spot edge cases. What I mean by that is uh, the reason LLMs work so well is that it's trained based on a lot of data, like examples of the world that has happened in the past. And they're because of that training data, they're able to catch those fairly well. What becomes sort of less efficient is when it sees something that it has never seen before and actually doesn't know what to do with it. It can then there's that's where the error comes in. So if there are parts of a contract or it's so different from any other things that has happened in the past, the tendency of that creating some sort of error actually increases, and that's where I guess the expertise of the professional comes in and trying to understand the contract. Well, this is very different. I think there is a if and saying to themselves, there's a probability that possibility that there will be some errors in here because it's so different from all the other contracts, and taking the extra effort to making sure those errors are caught. I think that's the other important thing. One of the most important things. And again, the probabilistic nature of LLMs, I think, is the biggest problem that people using AI is going to have. Like I said before, uh, it's not deterministic, meaning that it's the same thing every time. It's probabilistic, meaning that it's like somewhat trying to roll a dice in many ways. It's a dice that is weighed to a certain way, but once in a while you will get a number that it was not intended for. So that's one of the huge biggest limitations. There's a lot of technology out there or methods trying to catch this, and it's getting better and better and better. But there. I'm in the camp that it will never go away at 100%. It will get better, but it will never go away 100%. So you have to be mindful of this and be vigilant in making sure that you are looking at the documents as you would an employee or a partner would.
Right, exactly. At the end of the day, yes, it still comes back to you, right? Yes, you still have to
Yeah,
actually go out there and do the work in order
exactly right.
to be successful.
You
Uh,
know, interesting thing about that, and you talked about like how AI won't be able to replace humans. The other angle is this, right? At the end of the day, I think there's two ways of looking at this. At the end of the day, any work stream, there's someone who has to be responsible. Like to put it bluntly, if there's huge problem, someone needs to go to jail.
right.
Like, it's not going to be AI. It's got to be a human who is going to be held responsible. Right. That I don't think is ever going to go away. Right. So if you're that person that's responsible, you are not going to be replaced. And that's one I think the one way to look at this. Number two is that similar to legal, there's legal boundaries to this industry in general. So in the legal space, you have to be a lawyer to provide legal services, right? Uh, uh, if not, UPL, unlawful practice of law, it's a big liability for people who are not licensed to practice law. As of right now, AI cannot practice law. So the only entities or people that can practice law are lawyers, licensed lawyers. It's very similar to AI agents in commercial and residential as well, where you have to be licensed to be able to provide real estate services as well. Uh, as of right now, AI cannot provide real estate services. So you have to have some person who is the face or the licensed entity or person that is providing the service. And regulation is notoriously slow to change and adopt. So it's going to be a while, in my perspective, until that changes and AI can actually totally go out and provide commercial real estate or residential real estate services on its own.
Yeah, and that's actually maybe something people don't think about it this way, right? We just mentioned that there's always going to have to be somebody who's responsible, right?
Mm.
For, just in case something goes wrong, who do we blame, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of the human nature, right? Like if something goes wrong with the transaction, we have to blame someone. Who do we blame, right? You can't blame the
yeah,
computer. You can't blame AI, right? It's just gonna, give you back a generic answer or something like that. So you have to blame somebody who is essentially responsible, right? So doesn't matter if it's law, if it's any kind of profession, right? Even in medical as well, of course. But of course, in real estate, right? The license holder, that is the person that is responsible, and then they have to carry the essentially all the liability of
yeah,
that as well. So just being aware of that, I think is very important too. When it comes to integrating AI into your business, but also thinking about it in a way where, this is not going to, come in and just take my role away because my role is essentially, having to carry the responsibility and the potential consequences that come with that, as well, and of course the rewards too. So yeah, I think that's quite unique. I really enjoyed kind of this conversation so far about kind of your perspective on where technology and AI is coming in, how it's able to help us, and it's almost like a new way and a very refreshing way to look at things rather than just kind of what we're hearing out there on the internet today of everybody talking about how AI is just going to come in and replace us. Now, just kind of shifting gears a little bit here, I want to maybe kind of tap into your experience as a kind of more or less newly licensed commercial real estate broker. So over the past, let's say, a couple weeks, a few months, even, you've had quite a bit of success, right? Like I mentioned in the earlier part of the show, as a newly licensed commercial real estate broker. Usually, commercial real estate brokers take a while to get up and going, right? That's kind of the industry standard. Right, residential is easier to get going, even though it can still take a few months to get your first couple of leads, transactions. Commercial, just extrapolate that by at least 10 or 20 times, right? Because larger
Yeah,
transactions, more that goes into it. You already have, from last time we talked, few active clients, active leads, prospects as well. So
yeah,
how are you able to kind of leverage your experience in order to start generating activity in your commercial real estate business so quickly?
yeah. So I heavily leveraged and tapped into my existing network. So, like I said before, I spent 20 years in tech and startups. So I learned very early that, hey, you have to identify a starting point, a niche that you're going to start. And I selected office leasing as a starting point. And I started reaching out. I started out by reaching out to my network and say, "Hey, I've started this. I'm now newly licensed. I can help you find office space as a tenant rep." Uh, and because I have this network and I really understand how the founders and the CEOs and executives talk, I believe I speak their language, which is not always so with commercial real estate brokers, which sound very foreign to tech startups and their founders as well. So that's one piece. The second piece is as I was building up and trying to learn these new tools, I found that a lot of them felt very foreign to me. And there were gaps in how these tools were helping the brokers. A good example is um, the CRMs, right? I quickly learned there's different CRMs in commercial real estate. There's Build Out, which is part of EXP Commercial provided. Uh, and instead of trying to learn this new tool, I just built one for myself, which includes some of the features that I thought was interesting that we needed. For example, when I talked to a lot of my friends about their experiences of past leasing their office, one of the top things they said is that they were kept in the dark. They would have a call and tell them what they needed, and then the broker would disappear and they had no idea what's going on. And it was a struggle trying to understand what was going on in the process. They would have to email, there's back and forth. So what I did was that I created this tool that it's a CRM, but there's a client-facing interface dashboard where it automatically takes the updates in the CRM and creates a dashboard or and roadmap and updates so the clients can go anytime to their unique URL to see what's going on. So scales your tools one that. So I think as I'm building these tools and providing more visibility into what's going on, and also giving them an experience, turning a leasing experience into a product, a software product in general, I think it's helping. Like you said, first 2 months I closed 2 deals. I now have 6 clients in the pipeline right now, and it's growing as we speak. And I'm hoping to continue this progression as I'm digging deeper and deeper into commercial real estate and how and understanding this industry. I'm going to build more and more tools to help bridge those gaps and make those tools available to my fellow commercial real estate brokers.
Yeah, that's awesome that you kind of saw a gap in the industry and then just with your personal experience, right, using different CRMs that are provided and that are out there, and then you're like, I think I'm just gonna go build my own, right? That connects everything together. So you went out there and you did it fairly quickly, I would say, and it's just such a cool skill set to have. And just to kind of give everybody an idea of the tool that you've built, right? We actually took a look at it. I think it was a few weeks ago where you're taking kind of a snapshot of the transaction process and a timeline, and now you're able to share that with your clients, right? Which is very important, I think, especially in the commercial real estate space where, your clients are people that are busy as well, but they want updates, right? They don't necessarily need to sit on the phone or go through the email, like an email chain for, multiple hours a day. They just kind of want to see what's going
Yeah,
on, just get a quick update, every day or every week, and then just continue on, right? Just to be have peace of mind, right? And that's exactly what your CRM, your new tool is able to do, right? It connects what the broker is doing on the back end, right? Which
Yeah.
is managing the transaction, but also giving the client something that's easy to manage, easy to kind of review and understand, and just giving him a quick snapshot of, okay, here's where we're at, here's where we're going, right? To give him that peace of mind, which is I don't think there anything like this exists, not just in the commercial real estate space, but I don't think anything like this exists in the residential CRM space either.
Yeah. It's fairly new, so I'm the only user at this time. So as I partner with and co-broker with different deals, I'm hoping to make it available to different my partners, and then we'll see how that goes. And I'm hoping at some point in time where we believe that it's ready for prime time, we'll start stitching these software products together with Jigo.ai, and it'll be an end-to-end sort of full package of software that can help brokers be successful.
Wow. Yeah, that's very exciting, man. I'm excited to see all that come together, and it's just going to bring a lot of value, I think, for commercial real estate brokers, and also I think there's going to be a lot of implications on the residential side as well if agents want to use this for their day-to-day transactions. So Ryan, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. I think you shared a lot of really valuable, interesting insights into how commercial real estate brokers are able to use AI and technology moving into the future, and just some of the things that they can look forward to as well. So for anybody who is watching or listening to this show that want to maybe reach out to you, or maybe they want to learn a little bit more about how they can utilize some of your tools that you're bringing available to the market with Jigo AI, what are some of the best ways for people to reach out to you directly or to find out more information on how they can plug into your resources?
Yeah. Or we can simply email me at ryan@jigo dot AI, or look me up at LinkedIn. Just type in Jigo AI. I'm the CEO and founder there, and just DM me. Um, if you're in EXP, just look me up in the directory as well. So as Ryan Lee in Washington State in Seattle. So just ping me. I'll be happy to help.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. We'll make sure to leave the links to your LinkedIn and your email in the description in the show notes down below, so that way people are able to find you easily. But other than that, man, appreciate you being on the show. Before I let you go, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips, or just any feedback you have for the audience before we let you sign out for today?
Yeah. So if you're a commercial real estate broker and you need looking for tools, I just come ping me. I love would happy to get you on board, help you out. But in general, in tips, there's a lot of noise out there about AI tools, and but the best way is to just give it a try. Uh, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you want to try, just go and give it a try, uh, and get your hands dirty. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes. New technologies coming out. Don't get too overwhelmed by all that. Just stick to one. Just figure out what works for you, and just keep at it.
Yep, absolutely. That's some great advice, man. Appreciate you being
Well,
here. Appreciate you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next show. Take care.
all right. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Kobe.